Hey, Sean here from SpeedCubeReview.com. Before we get started, I want to thank SpeedCubeShop.com. You can use the link in the description to check out the store and use discount code CubeReview to save 10% on your order. It's time for the 6x6 mega comparison. We have two cubes here, the Shengshou 6x6 and the MoYu AoShi. Now these two, oh yeah, V-Cube 6x6. Why didn't I think of that? Now for those of you who don't know who V-Cubes is, they are the first ones to manufacture a working 6x6 and 7x7 cube, and revolutionize the large cube market. Many of the cubes today are based off of their original designs. For those of you who do know what V-Cubes is, you're probably scratching your heads as to why it's in my review, and yelling at your screen right now. So long story short, V-Cubes did not take kindly to other companies either using their ideas or completely ripping off their designs. Their actions to go after or silence the other cube companies was not as welcomed in the cubing community as they probably wanted, and now stay off to the side, which is why you cannot get this in most cube stores. I wanted to conclude it in this review for a couple reasons that I'll go over in more detail later in the video, but basically, the design is different than the original 6x6, which I think even V-Cubes will agree was pretty rough to use. The original one was really clicky, and this one has no clicking mechanism in it at all. The other reason is to show something a little bit different than these two cubes do not have. So first, let's break it down by going over the obvious, the shape and size. The Shengshou and the MoYu AoShi both have the same dimensions of about 67 millimeters. The MoYu 6x6 is a little bit more rounded and feels more comfortable in the hands. Because the pieces are more rounded though, it does make it bend and flex a bit more, while this one is a bit more stable. The V-Cubes comes in a cubic shape like this, but also has a pillowed version that I have right here. Honestly, I love pillowed shaped cubes. My first 4x4 was a pillowed V-Cube, and it felt very nice to use. Now only 7x7 puzzles are allowed to be pillowed for official competitions. If you're ever going to compete, then you would want the cubic one. I know many people who do not ever plan on going to a competition, and because of that, would probably like the pillowed version. Now, it's pillowed because, as you can see in these, the outside layers are just slightly bigger, and on 7x7, as you get even larger, they get even farther apart, these bigger outside pieces. And so the pillowedness of this makes it so the pieces are a little bit more uniform. As far as colors, besides black and white, the Shengshou comes in pink, obviously. The MoYu comes in a stickerless option besides black and white, and the V-Cubes comes in either black or white, but the white version switches the white stickers for black, so you get this kind of design here. As far as speed, the Shengshou is the most sluggish. Outside's okay, but the inside layers are really hard to turn. Now, of course, you can put a little bit of lube in there, but out of the box, this was just really hard to break in. The AoShi was much nicer. Out of the box, it was a little bit sluggish, but after some lube and breaking in, it was much better. The inside layers are much slower, though, compared to this outside layer. The V-Cubes one is faster than the Shengshou, definitely, up there with how the AoShi is. Actually, I take that back. This one is much faster. The outside layers are good, the next ones are pretty good, and these inside layers are actually much faster than what the AoShi is, at least out of the box. Now, breaking this in and loosening the tensions might make it a little bit better, but this is actually the fastest one here. Part of that has to do with the plastic. It feels very light and very, I guess I'm going to use the word crisp, which a lot of people would use to describe a cube, and this feels a little bit softer. As far as corner cutting goes, you can see with the Shengshou, it corner cuts okay for a 6x6. Now these tensions are a little bit tighter though too, because this seemed to pop a little bit on looser tensions. So it's not horrible, not much reverse, but from a larger cube, it's kind of what you would expect. The AoShi's a little bit better. And these rounded pieces make reverse really nice, actually. And because it flexes a little bit, you have more movement in the cube to align itself. The V-Cubes does cut really nice. It's actually over line to line this way. You can go even past there. And that's fantastic right there. And the inner layers cuts really nice too. You can even see this is cutting well. Now, one thing I'm going to say though is that you cannot tighten this cube any farther than what it is. And that, to me, is a little bit loose compared to the Shengshou and the AoShi. The AoShi is kind of around that same amount, but you cannot tighten this anymore. So I have had a couple pops, but that's because I was trying to. I turned it about this much, and I had an internal, or not an internal piece, one of these pieces pop out. So it's close to doing that. So it can pop if you're really rough with it, but it does corner cut really, really, really nicely. The last thing is the price, though. The Shengshou you can get for around between $25 to $30, somewhere in that range. And so as far as a budget cube, this one does work really well for that. The AoShi is a little under 40. I think I saw it at 39 right now during the making of this video. And that's before the 10% discount, of course. And so this one, being a little over $10 more, is obviously more expensive, but the quality is definitely there. And if you're competing and it's between these two, AoShi definitely wins with that. The V-Cubes was around $41, I believe. Now, I got this off Amazon because most cube stores are not allowed to really carry it anymore because they have what V-Cubes considers knockoff puzzles. And the AoShi on Amazon, if you get the pillowed edition, it's going to have that smoother turning. If you have the cubic one, if you want to order that one, I don't know if Amazon's going to have the old edition or the newer one. The newer one came out about 1.5 years ago, I believe. So if you want the cubic one, I would suggest getting it from the V-Cubes website directly, or if you know the manufacturer, or you can actually go to a store and test one out that has these, because a lot of stores, at least in the US, I've seen has actual V-Cubes. You can check that out there. So which one should you buy? Now, if you're on a budget, Shengshou would be fine, but I feel it's lagging in speed and corner cutting. Compared to the other two, it, although looks really cool and works fine if you just want a cheap 6x6 to mess around with, isn't your best choice for competing. Now, the AoShi, although being more expensive, is really nice, and many will argue this is the best out there today to get. So then I'm left with, why would you ever get a V-Cubes, which is even slightly more than the AoShi, for a couple reasons. One, if you want a pillowed version and don't plan on ever competing, this is the only one that I would suggest ever getting. I think there might be some copy of this one, but I can't find it, at least right now. This would definitely be the one to get for that. It can make a great gift. I mean, you saw the way the packaging is. This is a nice packaging. So it can make a good gift for someone who just wants something nice you can put on the shelf and solve once in a while. But I would not suggest giving it to a young kid who might be really rough with it, because most likely it will pop within a couple minutes. The last reason you might get a V-Cube is you might want to support the company that originally designed 6x6 and that builds the product in Greece, while these ones are built in China. So if that makes any difference for you, then it would be reason to get this. I know many people still do not care about any of that, and so for that, that's completely fine. I'm not arguing right here that everyone should get a V-Cubes. I'm not arguing also that this is incredibly better than anything else. But I feel that this, especially this new version, is definitely noteworthy. I mean, this thing moves really well and performs really well too. I mean, if you're rough with it, yeah, it can pop, but I do like solving this. So like for most of these comparisons, I recommend all three of these for a specific purpose. We have the budget one, the high quality version, and the original / designer version. So thank you for watching. Please leave your thoughts and questions in the comment section below. I understand many people can have thoughts on the whole V-Cube controversy. I feel like that was sort of settled years ago, and I think we can move past that today. Please hit like and subscribe for more content like this in the future, and as always, stop by speedcubeview.com for more news and reviews.